Hi, my name's Cassandra Schmidt, and I'm here to talk to you about leadership and conflict resolution, specifically handling team conflict. Now, when we talk about conflict is something that essentially can't be avoided. So instead of talking about how to avoid conflict, because that's really not something that we're able to do, we're going to talk about how to identify it and how to resolve it. And resolving conflict is done by addressing it. And the steps to address conflict are increased understanding. And basically, that is where people's awareness of the situation is expanded, and that helps to give them insight into how to go about achieving their own goals without weakening the goals of other people. And number two, increase group cohesion. Now, this is really when a conflict is resolved successfully and team members realize just how good they work together. It also manages to instill confidence in their coworkers, which is a really important aspect of it. Number three is improved self-knowledge, and this is when individuals learn to look at their goals in detail after a conflict makes them realize what is happening. It helps them to understand the things that are most important to them and also helps to improve their focus and effectiveness. Basically, the person is able to kind of see the big picture when they're getting improved self-knowledge. And if a conflict isn't addressed right away or properly, there's a lot of issues involved with that. And one of those issues is it can cause stress on everyone involved, not just the people who are specifically in the conflict. It can cause stress to everyone. And Susan M. Heathfield said, in worst case scenarios, your organization members take sides and your organization is then divided. So not only if it's not addressed does it cause problems between just the individuals that had the issue, but it actually can cause groups of people to actually start to divide, and that's something that you definitely don't want to have happen. Workers can also feel like they're working in a hostile work environment. It can also cause teams to be dysfunctional, and personal dislike will be the primary focus instead of their work. And costs of conflict, I think this is one of the most important things to think about, because not only are we looking at there's issues in the workplace, but what are we losing? What's the thing that we're losing from this conflict? And what we're losing is 30 to 42% of a manager's time is spent reaching agreements when conflict happens. Now think about that 30 to 42% and what that time could be used for in a better way for the company if they weren't using it to resolve conflict. There's also estimates that show that more than 65% of performance problems result from conflict. So when you think someone's having a problem and they're need help getting to the peak performance level, most of the time that comes from a conflict. Surveys also show that people in all occupations report the most stress-producing part of their job is conflict. And one of the things about employees is, what don't they like? They don't like stress. Stress can make them leave the job, go somewhere else. And this is a really important thing, that conflict is the major aspect of stress. So as far as conflict, the steps to resolve it or address it, first you have to identify it. So, okay, let's think about this as a manager. What should you watch for? What are the things that if you're watching your employees, to kind of give you a heads up that something's going on? And those behaviors to watch for are a sudden change in employee behavior. Somebody that used to be happy-go-lucky now is very down all the time and very sad. A sudden change in their body language or tone. Someone that never used to seem tense or upset now is just putting out a different vibe. Increased absences. This is, a pretty obvious one if you think about it, because if someone's got a conflict at work, they don't want to be at work. So they're going to find every excuse they can to stay away from work. So this is a really big one to watch for. Another one is noticeable reduction in productivity. So they used to be a lot more outgoing and wanted to help and were very productive in their job, and now they've kind of gone downhill. And also stress levels, increased stress levels. So someone that never used to complain, all of a sudden's coming to work and they're talking about all these issues, that's something to look for as well. Now, once you've identified the conflict, you need to be able to manage it. And to manage it, you need to assess the situation and find the root cause of the conflict. Where did this come from? Is this a personal or structural issue? Is it because maybe you put someone in charge of another person that didn't have the seniority and now they're taking that out on another individual? I mean, you really need to think about what could be the conflict issues here, because once you know the two individuals that have the conflict, you can really kind of assess and think about, okay, what was the reasoning for this? Is there something that maybe I did or the company did that actually caused this conflict? And if so, we need to fix this right away. And another thing to look for, is it an individual or a team environment? Is it just two individuals that have a problem, or do we have a team together of people that are really having issues? The team is divided, or there's certain aspects within that environment. So that's another thing to watch for, because those need to be handled differently. And when you are addressing the conflict, you need to use active listening to understand what the issue is and how to move forward from there. Sit down with your staff and ask them to write down in their own words exactly what happened. What do they think happened? Why do they think there's an issue? Make sure that they understand that you're listening to them. They need to know that you're listening to their side of the story. And once you've listened to their story, you need to come up with a plan in how to address this. And you need to make sure that the expectations for the future are clear, that this conflict can no longer be an issue, and you need to, once the issue has been resolved, this can't keep happening. One of the big pieces of this is managers need to stay impartial. They can't take sides, and if they are taking sides, they need either some additional training, or if there's no way that they can stay impartial, a third-party mediator needs to be called in, because this is something where it needs to be an impartial thing that happens. If it's not impartial, then we're not truly resolving the conflict. And another important aspect is to make sure the manager gets training. If you have a manager that's having issues resolving conflicts, and they're new to the job, they need to get some training on this aspect, because this is a really, really essential part of their job.